It's hard to keep up with all the Max for Life devices being released every single week or so, but if you ever used at least one, you know how powerful they can be. That's why I thought it would be cool to gather everything I found and show you some of my favorite ones, or even the ones I consider the best ever made. So I have a pretty solid session here, and it sounds something like this. But what if I want to change the pitch of this whole session? Now you may notice that drums haven't changed a lot, and that's due to this menu, where you can basically exclude elements you don't want to change the pitch of by either typing their names or keywords. It also has an option to change the pitch of all the tuning plugins you may have, but the most important thing is that it works with all scale awareness devices inside Live. I was quite surprised that I got so many comments about clip gain, since this device came in like 2020 or something, but in case you're still living under the rock, it basically allows you to change the clip, well, gain, also pitch and warping modes. Once you click Command and K, it basically allows you to map any key. I have it mapped to Q due to my gamer muscle memory, but feel free to map to any key you want. All I need to do is to press Q, and then I could change both gain, pitch, for a chipmunk type beat or something like that. Next one lives right after my free or pay what you want ultimate utility rack. It's also not a new device, but for sure a must have to check if you violate streaming platform LUFS standards enough, or another OTT on a master is needed. In my case, I think it's enough. Many people don't know about this, but if you go to Swiss Army meter options, you can also detach the window and make it float wherever you want. It also has a cool note to hertz or milliseconds conversion chart, but for this purpose I like to use a free device by Elephant Converter or another freebie BPM converter by Killhole. I'm pretty sure I butchered his nickname. Another worth mentioning tool is Free Mix Matcher, yet I made a full video about it. Turns out it appears first once you search for it on Google, so look mom, I'm a YouTube star. Yeah. Can't think of a better transition to... I need to be honest with you, it's hard to beat the value of stock tools you already have inside Live or some free Max for Life packs on Ableton's website. But there are a few worth mentioning, like for example, this filter.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm dead serious. It's even my most used filter from all the plugins and devices I have. I simply like to have an option to both low pass and high pass in one particular tiny device, so then I can have more time to build some more complex racks for you. Filter is a part of Elephant's Essentials pack, which is technically free, although I encourage you to support him if you can. Let's go to another creator that came up with a super smart solution. Meet Tiny Space. Bro, it sounds like corporate intro. Meet Tiny Space, your best friend to amaze your coworkers with drums that they never heard before. It introduces that super short and tiny reverb, which is really useful for drums. Obviously you can control all the parameters of this reverb, so the size, the feedback, and the crossfeed. But the really useful thing here is obviously a built-in filter, which basically prevents you from putting your reverb to your kick. It may not make a big difference at first, but once I play those drums with and without, it adds that little bit of space that is definitely needed for your drum boss. With the recent update, he also added an option to soft clip and turn off visuals if you work on calculator. I also have some clippers that are worth mentioning, and the first one is GM Audio Clipper. And it's pretty straightforward and very transparent clipper. Another free option to try is Blast Hard, and I believe this clipper was made after watching Clip to Zero tutorial by Bathymetrics. So you can basically drive this clipper and have your volume compensated, which allows you to clip your sounds without changing their volume, but obviously you can turn it off here and have just a regular clipper. And although those clipper devices are cool, don't forget that you can make your own by dragging a stock saturator, turning it into digital clip, turning off the color, and deciding if you want to soft clip or hard clip. I like to use the hard clip option, obviously, and then simply driving the saturator. Okay, but the most useful mixing devices. And I think they deserve a separate chapter because there are three main players here and things started to get interesting. So, till November this year, I was a heavy user of Chain Shaper. And don't get me wrong, it's still a great device and I love to use it, especially because of this oscilloscope feature where you can basically shape the volume shaping curve and then see what you've done. But then I stumbled across Borrasca Sidechainer. So just like with other volume shaping or sidechaining devices, you need to search for your sidechain input, and for me that's gonna be the kick inside my drum rack. We'll do this post effects since I have clipper on it. You can really precisely dial in this curve here. You can make it smooth obviously, but for the sake of quick presentation, let's just keep it like that. Okay, I will actually need to make a smoother curve here. It's a super low latency sidechaining volume shaping tool, but it also has an option to do some ring modulation sidechain. If you don't know what ring modulation sidechain is, it basically allows you to carve out space inside bass, which is literally the same as your kick. And it's really easy to see once I bring this ring mod depth up. It also adds a little bit of sizzle since it's ring modulation, so you can get some bonus points for sound design. But after I made an initial video about Chain Shaper, I got a lot of comments to check DuckBuddy, and it seems like Slink came up with the new version like 2 days ago. Yeah, and my first thoughts were the same. Borrasca ripoff. It turns out it has a little bit of a different approach. So the first main difference is that if you want to use it just like a regular volume shaping tool, the only option to trigger it is by MIDI, but since I have my kick and snare basically always inside drum rack, I'm totally okay with that. It also has a ring modulation sidechain option, and for this reason you actually need to go to this triggering option, turn down the shape trigger to no input, and then you can actually control it with audio. So let's go to my drum rack, choose a kick, and then increase the depth of ring modulation. Another difference between DuckBuddy and Borrasca Sidechainer is that after a few hours of testing, I discovered that DuckBuddy is actually way more stable, because I had some weird crashes after dragging Borrasca Sidechainer into my sessions. And honestly, it's up to you which one you choose, because you can technically get Borrasca Sidechainer for free, which I encourage you to not. Toss a coin if you can, because I bet you will be lost after 3 seconds of playing inside max environment. And this guy made a whole detailed sidechainer inside it. Without a doubt, MIDI tools were the biggest thing introduced in Live 12. I get the hate, but I still stand by those tools rather than just using shitty MIDI chord packs, since those allow you to actually play with some notes and make this melody your own after. Let's grab those keys, for example, make a MIDI clip like this. And now, once I got to generate, the first one is MIDI to the max progressions. All you get to do is to determine which root key you're working with. So in my case, it's F. And as you can see already, we have some few chords. Then I need to check that it's actually minor, since I'm working with minor. You can basically shape those chords however you want without you touching those MIDI notes here. So let's actually increase the duration to fill out this clip. Now let's change complexity to make only triads and dominant. You can also choose between all of those progressions, but what I like to do if I have no idea what I want to do is to just click this random button. You can also add bass notes, so let's add bass an octave below. Change the voicing. I think I will stick with those basic chords to show you the next device, but just keep in mind that you can actually have some pretty cool patterns here. You can randomize them, or basically choose between them by dragging up or down. The newest addition to MIDI to the Max lineup is a device that lets you write some riffs. I guess this plug square will fit here. Yeah. Then go to riffs and voila! The same as with progressions, you can determine the length of this clip. Then you have a couple of options to randomize all the parameters or choose your own intervals, choose the probability and the length of those notes as well as randomize those parameters. What I really like to do is to change this to randomization plus, and then once I click this button, which basically randomizes all the parameters, and I think I really like the duration of it. Let's just play with some intervals. But you know what? I got some more Max for Live devices to help you get inspired, make some crazy sound design stuff, and modulate stuff in a totally different way. Although I don't want to make this video a long ass one to fall asleep to, so let me know in the comments if you want part 2. And since you're down there,